Today I want to touch on a subject that is taboo in most US media and for most of the US commentators, race relations. I hear often how politicians of all parties and movements proclaim that they want a national dialogue about races, but beyond mutual accusations in being either Hitler or Uncle Tom, things are not progressing. During my life in America of about 30 years, I witnessed worsening of racial relations in the United States. Even after election of the first black president, things didn't improve. The main reason for that, as I heard, from radio, TV broadcasts, and read in the newspapers, is that because a large number of whites are racists, meaning they treat blacks and other races worse than they would treat their own race. Before I continue, I want to tell you about myself and about my own perspective on the subject. I'm a Jew. I was born in the Soviet Union. For those who don't know, to be Jewish in the Soviet Russia was much worse than to be black in post-World War II America. My dad, for example, was arrested because at that moment the Soviet government was sending all Jewish physicians as prisoners to prison camps, and he had the misfortune to be born a Jew and be a doctor. When I was at school, I knew that Jews are not equal to Slavs, to Russians, Ukrainians, Polacks, Belarusians, and that everybody else treated us as a second-class beings. Jews were accepted into colleges and universities on quotas given to each college by the government. For example, for you it's 1%, for you 1.5%, and so on and so on. Jews were not allowed to get many prestigious jobs or even work in certain prestigious organizations. In many instances, Jews were not promoted, and we were told into our faces that we are Jews, so what do you want? Jews were routinely denied passports to travel. You get the picture, right? I know exactly what racial discrimination is. I had it for first 24 years of my life, and I remember every small detail like it was yesterday. The discrimination and abuse in Russia came from both government and people themselves, who easily might decide to beat up a Jew on a dark street and would gang up, 10 to 1, yelling, "Beat Jew, save Russia," and enjoy every moment of that. But back to the US. Some statistics. Blacks are 13% of the population, whites are about 63%, and Hispanics about 17%. However, 37% of prison inmates are black, 3 times more than percentage of blacks in the population, 32% white and 22% Hispanics. Number one cause of death among blacks males ages 15 to 25 is homicide. Not by police, most of them, as we're being told, but by young black males like themselves. Hispanics and whites are killed at half of the rate of black males. Most of young whites, as a matter of fact, killed not by homicide, but by car crashes, accidents, and unintentional injuries. Only 9% of whites ages 15 to 25 killed by intended violence. Unemployment among blacks 10.9% and among whites 4.8%. Out of wedlock births in black community twice as common as in white and Hispanic communities, and black children 3 times likely to live with single parent than white children or Hispanic children. Sorry, I will continue a little bit more with the statistics because that's important, but a little bit. 14% of whites complete bachelor's degree, and compared to 10% of blacks. And last, median hourly earnings of blacks in 2015 were $15 per hour, Hispanics $14, whites $21. You can say it's a discrimination, but Asian men earned whopping $24 an hour. Were they treated equally? Maybe they received preferential treatment? why there were no suppression of Asian wages. As far as I know, most of Jewish immigrants of the 20th century, and definitely my entire wave of emigration over the last 40 years, came to the US without a single dollar in our pockets. We didn't know English, we didn't know life here, we didn't have driver licenses. How it happened that Jews of this current immigration now are among top earners, our children receiving highest education possible and active participants in all and every aspect of the life in the United States of America. One more statistical point. 64% of blacks say they treated unequally, and they say that race makes it harder to succeed in life. The same 64-65% support Black Lives Matter movement. What a fascinating thing, statistics. Are those who support Black Lives Matter movement, and think that they are treated unequally and unfairly, are they right? There are only several possible explanations of why people earn less, succeed in life less, go to prisons more often than others, have more children out of wedlock, killed and kill in higher rates than other ethnicities and races. Number one, maybe they cannot find their place in a society that was developed by and for white people. Or, two, they treated terribly by either all others or by a dominant race. Or, they as a group do something wrong that precludes them from achieving more and live better lives. So let's go to the point number one. Judging by black professors in universities, black musicians, black doctors, lawyers, accountants, teachers, engineers, there is nothing wrong with blacks achieving success in the so-called white world. Martin Luther King, Nelson Mandela, Desmond Tutu, Barack Obama, Whoopi Goldberg, Ben Carson, Condoleezza Rice, and others are attestation to that. Option one is out. Second option, maybe other races treat blacks unequally. Let's see. I live in America, as I said, already over 30 years. I saw nothing here that I can compare to what I experienced firsthand in the USSR as a Jew. No one tells blacks that they are not welcome in any places, that college is not for them, that better jobs belong to other races or ethnicities. No one refuses to rent apartments to them, or beats them up just because they have different skin color or long nose. I never heard any American cursing blacks because they're blacks. Maybe I'm blessed by ignorance, but unlike in the USSR, on the surface, blacks are welcome, exactly as whites, Latinos, Asians, again, maybe in other parts of America, but not in the states I lived in, New York, California, Massachusetts. I'm not black. Okay, I'm olive-skinned, so maybe I cannot feel what really happening with real blacks. But nor myself, nor any of my friends who yes, they're not blacks, witnessed any racial discrimination against African Americans. What I heard quite often are blacks bad-mouthing whites. It became popular and even fashionable to call whites names, not only in Black Lives Matter, but on many demonstrations, riots, all kinds of meetings, even university lectures. There are often both blacks and whites, curse whites in general, and white privilege in particular. I saw slogans written on walls, F-U-C-K whites, never saw something like F-U-C-K blacks. I saw black colleges and never saw white colleges. I saw affirmative action to accept blacks first, whites second, never saw any action or slogan accept whites first, blacks second. I saw the journalists label whites as suprematists, but never heard about them saying something like black suprematist. I have heard that black is beautiful, never heard that white is beautiful. However, I'm sure that A, racism exists, and B, it possibly subtly present in the lives of African Americans in places and in situations we might never feel or understand. As a Jew who went through the USSR racial abuse, I can understand that. And I am not dismissing it. My point is Does this racism precludes blacks from going to college in the same numbers as whites and Asians? Does this racism prevents parents from building families and prevents fathers from leaving their kids? Does American racism pushes kids to deal drugs, join gangs, and participate in turf wars, killing other kids like themselves? I don't think so. Until us as a society will understand what the problem is or what the problems are, we will not be able to find cure. Now we're down to the last possibility. Blacks as a group does something that precludes them from achieving more and live better lives. I'm sure that there are many who will curse and even hate me for thinking, just raising such a possibility. But now we are into a guessing game territory, dark territory of guessing. And not being professional psychologist, my opinion and thoughts are not even based on proven science. However, all I want to do is to compare two oppressed groups and see if there are similarities or differences in their collective behavior. Jews were oppressed in the USSR and before that in the Russian Empire. And by oppressed I mean pogroms, lynches, prohibitions to live and work in large cities or enter many establishments or public places. And blacks were oppressed in the US. Not long ago sold into slavery, practically excluded from the society and even considered by some whites a property, not human beings. Despite the oppression, Jews were highly educated, advanced in many areas of life, including science, art, and business. Proportionally more Jews were studying in colleges and universities than any other ethnic group in the Eastern Europe. Jews seldom committed crimes involving violence, but got proportional, even disproportional representation in prison for white-collar crimes. Jews has very strong families and very low divorce rate, especially when they were married with children. Jewish communities celebrated traditional holidays and told children countless stories about their history, religion, traditions. Not being especially religious in the USSR, Jews attempted to keep national identity and national pride in their families and communities. 2000 years since they were driven from Judea and Israel, Jews were telling their children that they one day will be able to come back to their homeland and live life as a majority in their own country. Jews always were preaching that hard work, ingenuity, and persistence will help them to be happy and prosperous. Jewish mothers were famous for telling their children that in order to be equal, they have to be 5 times more knowledgeable than they. They never explained they. It was obvious. They is everybody else. Also, they were saying to their children, "You're so smart. You're the smartest. You can achieve whatever you work." It was another mantra in Jewish families, and it worked. We Jews knew that we will have uneven playing field, unjust world stuck against us, that we will have plenty of humiliation in our lives and always will have uphill battles. But we knew from our mothers and grandmothers that we're smart, and if we will be 10 times better prepared than they, we will win. Many leaders of the black communities preach we are not treated as equals. We are taken advantage of. Whites are racists. They will never let us achieve what we want. We were slaves and the great-grandchildren of the slave masters owe us. Guys, families of most of the people I know not been here during slavery. You live in the past. Let's work together and look together in the future. Those who came to this country in 20th and 21st centuries, who came here without a dollar and built their livelihood not using slaves, have nothing to do with your grandparents' struggle. We sympathize, we feel your pain. But even if you're right and the playing field is not even, just be 5 or better, 10 times better educated and prepared than they, and you will achieve everything you want to achieve. It is not productive to continue saying everyone is guilty except us, blame is everywhere, not with us, we have a right, they owe us big. It probably feels good, but it leads nowhere. What is the result of such philosophy? People who are told that whatever they do, they will not get anywhere, because powers in charge will not let them. Those people will not even try. They know that they are doomed to fail. However, it is obvious that someone is banking on blacks being frustrated, struggling, and underachieving. Follow the money, guys. Follow the money. Who gets rich when you are an oppressed minority? Who is insisting that you lost before you even started? You know your leaders. Who demands from the government to take care of you, give you something for nothing? It's good to get something for nothing. It feels good, but I understand. But this is the way to keep you poor and angry forever. And who of your leaders are inspirational and tells you to believe in yourselves, study, work hard, use your natural abilities, that you have plenty? Who is telling you that you are smart, and if you will put your mind to that, you can achieve anything in the world? Who is using you to get money and power? And who is your Jewish mom that believes in you and helps you to live productive, fascinating, enjoying life, of all fruits, full of fruits of our civilization, being able to help others, not being ones that always need help? My conclusion is, dominated fill in the black community is that they dealt a crappy hand in life. Unless and until they will stop thinking about themselves as victims, they will not be able to get out of poverty and depression. Their lives will be worse, not better, with every generation. They will waste time, waste their lives instead of enjoying them. America is the best place in the world. Life can be so much joy and fun here. So this is what I would like to propose. Let's import Jewish mothers in sufficient quantities to raise one generation of blacks. And I guarantee you, there will not be even a shred of inequality. Or maybe whites will complain that blacks achieve so much in their lives that whites feel that they're oppressed. Or even better, there will not be whites, blacks, Asians, or others, and we all will be personalities who will be judged by our own deeds, not by color of our eyes, skin, longevity of our nose, or clothes we wear. White is beautiful. Black is beautiful. Olive skin, like mine, is also beautiful. Thank you for listening.